"You'll be okay," said the doctor, placing a comforting hand on Mike's shoulder. Mike felt his chest tighten against the words. He nodded, yet he knew the doc only said them out of politeness, not out of any true belief that Mike was really going to be all right. Mike had been in the hospital for over 2 weeks now. He was recovering from a car accident that had left him with a broken arm and shattered confidence. The memories of that night lingered in his mind, as fresh and vivid as if it had only been 5 minutes ago. He could remember the blinding headlights of the other car and the deafening sound of metal scraping against metal as the two cars collided. He was jolted back to reality by the nurses entering his room and began to sit up, clutching his arm. The nurses smiled kindly, informing him that he was free to leave. As he packed up his belongings and shuffled out of his room, he could feel his heartbeat begin to race, an anxious feeling building in his stomach as he stepped into the outside world. Everything seemed different now, and Mike felt a wave of fear overtake him with every step. He quickly hurried to his car, jumping in and taking a deep breath before he started the engine. To his surprise, he found that he was able to drive without any fear. He realized that the accident had not taken away his ability to drive, but it had taken away his trust. The road seemed darker and more dangerous than before, and the other drivers on the road appeared untrustworthy. He drove slower than usual and constantly held the steering wheel tightly as if to keep control of the vehicle. He was still scared, but he was grateful for the small victory he had been able to accomplish on his own. Once home, a new wave of panic surged through him as he realized that he would not have anyone to hug or talk to when he made it through the door. After the accident, he had decided to break off contact with his family, feeling that he was no longer able to provide them with any support. Mike slowly opened the door and stepped into his house. Nothing had changed since he'd left, but it suddenly seemed big and empty. Mike made his way to the living room and collapsed on the couch. He felt lonely and isolated and wanted more than anything to find a way to bridge the gap between his family. He thought back to the days before the accident when he had trusted so easily, but now all he felt was fear. He knew that unless he learned to trust again, his relationships would never be the same. Then, something miraculous happened. The light that had been extinguished in Mike's heart suddenly returned, powered by the new belief that he could move on and start to trust again. This newfound hope gave Mike the strength he had been looking for, and one day he finally picked up the phone and reconnected with his family. From that day forward, Mike decided to never lose hope again. He embraced the new feeling of trust, knowing that although he had been scared and hurt, he was also strong enough to move on. He was ready to trust the world again, and the support that his friends and family had given him showed him that the feeling of trust was something that would always remain. Mike was finally ready to move forward, and he was determined to start a new chapter in his life on a hopeful and trusting note.
Comment below and subscribe to not miss the next story.